Location, location, location. Have you heard that phrase before? Well, I'm pretty sure that most of you have probably heard that phrase. Hi, I'm Chris, I'm your host, and welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about location, 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 and what it means to you or what it might mean to you, right? So that phrase relates to real estate. And as a real estate agent, I've heard it quite a lot. I'm sure you've heard it probably quite a lot too, because if you are in the United States or maybe in the UK, you have probably watched a lot of homes being sold on various TV channels, homes that have been renovated, homes that have been torn down and rebuilt. The HGTV channel here in the United States has been full of that type of thing for years. And I know that in the UK there are a number of similar type of programs as well. One that I actually used to enjoy watching was Cheap Irish Homes. If you've never seen that show, you can find old episodes of it on YouTube. So what does location really mean, and why is it important? Well, in the real estate industry, and for those of you that might be looking to buy a home, it has a lot to do with the place where you want to have potentially your forever home, okay? To someone like that, perhaps location means, where am I closest to work? Where am I closest to my kids' school? Where am I closest to shopping and banking and restaurants and healthcare and things of that nature, right? The thing is, so many people think of location only as where am I going to buy that home? And they look at the various different criteria, the things that really make up what they feel are the important aspects of the place that they want their home. But they don't always necessarily think of everything. And obviously everybody can't think of everything. And I'm not saying that you can or that you should necessarily. But again, what is it that you may be leaving out of that equation? Sometimes it also goes to the proximity of family. Sure, maybe they live in a different state and that's okay. I mean, it really comes down to what do you have to do for your family, right? Not necessarily what you have to do for your brother's family or your sister's family or for your parents, even for that matter. But what you need to do for your family, okay? So take into account what those other aspects might include. Again, your family, maybe your brothers and sisters and their kids. Where are storms? Right now we are in a season here in the United States where there are a lot of tornadoes going on. A lot of heavy snows are coming probably in the next 4 or 5 months in various parts of the country. If you're not a cold person, meaning that you don't like snow, you're probably not going to want to buy a place in upstate New York. Unless that's just your thing. But if you're not into snow, well, then it's probably not a place for you, at least for a good portion of the year. The other thing is, if you don't want to have to worry about flooding, tornadoes, various types of natural disasters, then that could potentially cut down on what your location looks like. There are certain parts of the country that you don't necessarily have any of those things. You don't have tornadoes, you don't have serious issues with flooding, you don't have, just a lot of natural disasters, shall we say, that occur on any type of a regular basis. Excuse me. So before you just say, I just want to be close to this, that, or the other thing, take into consideration those other things. So location might mean that you need to include what locations are not hindered or hampered by bad storms. Those tornadoes. I don't like tornadoes, you might say, and so I don't want to have a tornado shelter in my backyard. You don't like those types of things, then you can't just necessarily include just, I want to be near New York City, and not take into consideration other issues potentially. New Orleans, 15 years or so ago, 12, 15 years ago, when we had all the flooding there, that was an area where most people found that they really didn't like because they lost everything. And so if that were an issue for you, excuse me, then you definitely do not want to be in an area like that, okay? So it comes down to, I guess, what are the things that you really need to come up with as your criteria? And it can't just be price. It just can't be a specific town or that type of a thing necessarily, but you need to consider those other aspects too. You know, don't discount the storms. Don't discount the need for health care. Depending on your age or the situation in your family, health care might be a number one thing for you. Being close to a hospital or other type of medical facilities where you can get specialized care. If you have a family member that has certain type of care needs, you might really love to live in a certain area, but because of the distance to the hospital, which can provide those types of specialized health care, you may not be able to live there, not comfortably, knowing that you might be hundreds of miles away from a place that you really need to be in order to take care of your family member. So location. It's an interesting mantra, and that's kind of what it is. It's not just a phrase or a couple of words, because it's three of the same word, right? But if you look at the holistic aspect of finding a home that you want to live in, then location is a very broad spectrum of things that need to be taken into consideration. Now, on the flip side of that, location, if you're looking just to get a rental home, rental homes can be anywhere that there are people that would be interested in living there, and that you can charge a sufficient enough amount of rent to cover your mortgage and your other necessary bills for month-to-month expenses, right? Now, some folks have over the years gone into short-term rentals like Airbnb and Vrbo and things like that, and there have been so many people that have done that, and there have been so many properties that have been put into those types of programs that a lot of cities, as most of you probably know if you're watching this video, a lot of cities have backed up against that and said, no, you can't do that here. Or we're going to allow you to do that, but we're going to regulate you. You have to have a certificate of being a landlord. And it's not just being a landlord and having a single family home that you rent out to somebody every 12 months and then another 12 months and another 12 months. If you're renting it night to night, essentially like an Airbnb could be or is in many instances, they are considering that a quasi hotel. And that's why they want to regulate that. And that's why they have decided in many places, many locations, that they're going to have you fill out an application. You're going to pay a fee, and you're going to have to renew that as long as you want to remain in that type of a program. So it's certainly something to consider before you just rush out and buy a house or an apartment or something along those lines to use as a short-term rental. Because if you do that and you don't know the ramifications or the requirements, you could find yourself up against a lawyer, with your own lawyer in a courtroom somewhere in some city that doesn't want you to do that without paperwork and application fees. Okay. So just some things to think about, some things to consider. There is a big difference in buying a house using the location, location, location mantra if you want to live in it versus buying one that you want to use as a rental. And we've only touched the tip of that iceberg. So perhaps in a future episode, we can talk about that more in depth. If you're interested in something like that, make some comments in the comment box below down there, and we'll see what we can do to come up with something in a future video for you. So love to hear your thoughts, your comments. Yeah, just go ahead and think about all that. I hope to see you in a future episode. Please go back and look at some of our past episodes and see if there's anything that sparks an interest in some future episodes that we can make. And I hope you'll come back real soon. And I hope you'll go back and look at some of our previous videos. And in closing, I hope you have a great rest of your day, wherever that is, whenever you're watching this. And take care. Bye.